let me be brutally honest, Carol. I mean, he looks pretty pathetic on the world stage. I mean, he rolled out literally the red carpet for Putin, and then Putin goes and invades NATO airspace. He, bombards Kyiv, kills scores of civilians. And so this notion that Trump is somehow leading us to peace is pure fallacy.
Britain is deploying RAF Typhoon jets to Poland as part of NATO's Eastern Sentry mission after recent Russian drone incursions into both Polish and Romanian airspace. Meanwhile, India's Narendra Modi has sent some of his troops to take part in a huge military drill near the Polish border alongside Belarus and Russia. So what are the implications for NATO and Europe? Well, tonight, Ukrainian leader President Zelensky has been speaking to Sky News. He said that President Putin is trying to trick Donald Trump and the US into delaying sanctions.
He definitely wants to trick the US. He's doing everything he can to avoid sanctions, to prevent US and Trump from putting sanctions on him. And if you keep postponing applying sanctions any further, then the Russians will be better prepared.
Well, I'm joined now by Bruen, former Director of Global Engagement at the White House under President Obama. Good evening to you, Brett.
Good to be with you, Carol.
I do want to come to this huge Russian military exercise, the incursions and how NATO should respond. But just first of all, I mean, I'm sure you were listening there to our previous guest, Lee Cohen, saying that he thought the timing of Lord Mandelson's departure as British ambassador to Washington, just as President Trump is due to arrive here, could not be worse. How significant do you think this could be to the forthcoming visit?
Oh, I agree with him. You want to have an ambassador in place, not just because pulling your ambassador out of Washington right before a state visit is a bad look, but it also undermines a lot of the planning. I mean, the ambassador is the person, the linchpin, who's trying to drive that strategy around relations. So pulling them out will upset, I think, a lot of the well-laid plans. There will certainly be gaps and ones that are difficult to fill, not having that senior person here in Washington.
And we heard also from Lee that the Trump administration might be slightly concerned about the fact that it's dealing with what he described as an unstable government. I mean, clearly, Keir Starmer's government is under huge pressure, not least over this whole Peter Mandelson's departure, the way the way that Keir Starmer handled Lord Mandelson's appointment and his dismissal. Do you think that President Trump and his team will be concerned about that?
Well, here's the other piece, Carol, which kind of gets overlooked in the initial wave of headlines. This also, the fact that Starmer removed Lord Mandelson for the evidence that came out about what Epstein was doing is a bad look for Trump, because it says there is a there. And so that becomes a bit of an uncomfortable moment. I'm sure a reporter from Times Radio or elsewhere will ask that question of saying, Mr. President, if the British ambassador was just removed because of what was publicized, doesn't that mean that, the documents have to be released? And this is something his team, Republicans, have been trying to avoid. So it is a pretty uncomfortable image and an issue for the president to deal with.
And President Trump has been desperately trying to dismiss the questions about his own relationship with Epstein, hasn't he?
He has, and yet, Carol, there are very few people who have those kind of buddy photos with Epstein. And, this notion of, well, I didn't do the drawing, I didn't write the letter, I, didn't really consider him a friend. I mean, all evidence to the contrary right now. And, Carol, it is really disturbing when you hear the testimony, and there were a number of those survivors who went up to Capitol Hill who described, as underage girls, what they were subjected to, and that, Donald Trump or Lord Mendelson or others were palling around, were hanging around these parties is, disqualifying.
Well, let's turn to global affairs that we're also considering tonight. Britain's sending RAF Typhoon jets to Poland. We've had Russia sending drones into Polish airspace. There was also an incursion into Romanian airspace. You've now got these huge military exercises going on just over the border between Poland in Belarus. Do you think all of this does show perhaps a greater aggression or a sign that President Putin is trying to step up his threats?
I think it's probing, Carol. I think what Putin wants to do is to find out, how far will both the NATO alliance, perhaps in particular the United States, go to defend its borders. And so you have these, what Joe Biden famously called minor incursions. And that begins to show, well, if 19 drones get sent over, what response does that elicit? Now more drones in Romania. You have missiles being positioned along the Polish border in Belarus. I mean, all of this adds up, Carol, one, to, I think, a really concerning trend and a threat to NATO, unlike we have faced in recent years. But the other part of this, and what we're seeing from the Kremlin, is an effort to very deliberately divide the alliance. And you will see the likes of Trump and Orban and the Slovak leader say, well, maybe there's an excuse for it. Maybe we don't actually have to invoke Article 5 or do anything in particular. And yet all of this is to Putin's advantage, because what he does then is just gain more ground, show that he's tough on the home front to Russians. He's, giving it to the NATO alliance, and they're not doing very much in return.
Yeah, I mean, just finally and briefly, I mean, President Trump, of course, has been supposedly trying to end the war. He had that very high-profile summit with President Putin. How do you think he will view these latest movements by President Putin?
Well, let me be brutally honest, Carol. I mean, he looks pretty pathetic on the world stage. I mean, he rolled out literally the red carpet for Putin, and then Putin goes and invades NATO airspace. He, bombards Kyiv, kills scores of civilians. And so this notion that Trump is somehow leading us to peace is pure fallacy. And what he is doing is just further emboldening Putin. Putin feels like he's been let out of detention and can now rejoin the community of respected leaders around the world, all the while killing Ukrainian civilians and threatening the West. I mean, this is a really bad look for Trump. And while he will try to brush it off, I think the harsh realities on the ground tell a different story.
Brett Bruen, former Director of Global Engagement at the White House. Really good to speak to you tonight. Thank you so much.